I am here with Andrew, who went through the 90-day Business Builder program. And what's really interesting about Andrew is that the time frame of his results, but I'll let him talk about that. Hi, Andrew. How are you?
I'm doing great, Caleb. Good to chat to you.
Where do you live?
So I'm currently in the UK. Was it meant to be collapsing UK, but it's close enough.
Close enough, right? Yeah, no kidding. And let's see. You were before joining Business Builder. You were and partially still are. Well, I'll let you describe what you did primarily for your income before you joined Business Builder.
Sure. So I've been doing independent consulting for a good number of years now, but that's been built up out of word of mouth, and it's not been particularly specific into one particular niche. It's been generally people know me, they know I can do various things in technology and project delivery. Andrew will fix it. I know a guy, so it's quite
Oh,
intimate, social, further down the
informal.
road. Exactly.
Yeah.
But people have been working with me for years, and it's basically just grown organically like that. Obviously, being a consultancy where it's me doing the work directly, it's quite constrained in the amount of work I could take on. And there's also a location aspect to it, where if I suddenly upped and went anywhere else in the world, that direct network of people who have built up my business and clients over the past number of years, they're going to be quite distant. Probably get some work still, but it's going to be a very different environment. So
So are
a
and
location dependent um, consultancy for a number of years.
and is that are you in the London area in the UK?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. So is that primarily just people around London you've been servicing? Is that correct?
Yes, there's
Or in
been
the region?
international kind of end clients, but ultimately things are mostly run out of London. So I've worked with, say, a few Australian banks, but it's been outside of London. It's been
Got
all been run out of London. So it's
it.
not been truly international.
Got it. And then you joined Business Builder March of this year, right?
That's correct. March 9th,
March
2024.
9th. And that date will become relevant in a minute. This is the cool part. And why did you join? What were the primary reasons you joined? What did you want out of the program when you joined it?
So what I really wanted was things are not been healthy in the UK over the past few years. The government has really wanted to put a stop to small business, and they've succeeded pretty heavily on that. And just generally, things are not great. So I wanted to detach away from the location a bit more, but I also wanted to make what I do a bit more saleable, have a bit more of exit potential. Because
Mhm.
when it's just me doing the work, it's just not going to be able to sell. So that needs standardization of your processes, being able to build a client base that's detached from you, and be able to have that full end-to-end process that isn't, people that I personally work with for a number of years. I can't sell that. So I joined 90 Day Business Builder because the model that's in there, which is location independent, automatically solves one of the problems, which is location dependency. Get rid of it. Don't have to worry about that anymore. And then secondly, because it's both services, goods, and a number of other things, there's a lot more process in there. You can build a proper business as an actual business that you can set up, run, and it can either be a constant source of revenue or you package it up and sell it on and you get that exit that you're after. So that's a much healthier business than what I'm currently running at the minute.
Got it. So to review, the two primary reasons were A, you wanted something location dependent, and B, you wanted something that was more of an asset that you could sell someday, like a quote real. I call them model B business, but like a quote real business instead of a
Yeah,
guy just doing jobs, because that's how I got started too. I just did
yeah,
random jobs around for people in my town. And right, it wasn't really a business. It was more of just a way to make money to pay my bills. Right. I mean
exactly.
that's
And
yeah.
not only that, it's like getting to that point of where you have a business that's actually saleable as an asset.
Mhm.
Getting to that point is when you've got there because you can actually step away from the business. And if you're
Yes.
just doing that work over and over yourself directly, you'll never get to step away, and the
Right.
business runs you.
That's
So being
exactly.
able to step away is very appealing after a number of years.
Yeah, we talk about that. Billy and I both talk about working when you work in your business versus working on your business.
It's
The two.
100% accurate.
Yes, because most people if they start a business, if they're lucky enough to be successful, they spend the rest of their lives working in their business like an employee. And you
Yeah,
might as well, you might
exactly.
as well be an employee because you're just working longer hours than an employee. And yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
I
And
don't recommend it to anyone listening. If you get the opportunity to build something that you can shift off at some point, it's far better than getting in the weeds continuously.
correct. Agree 1,000,000%. And then, so you were in the program and you got your first client on a particular date.
Yes.
What date was that?
June 10th. So that is exactly 93 days after starting the program. So
And
I missed it by 3 days.
you missed it by 3 days, but that's fine. 93 days is so perfect. When you told me that, I went, oh my God, because I didn't know that. I didn't know the timing. That's
Mm,
awesome. And it with this first client, which is kind of unusual, you got two different jobs out of that first client. So one
yes,
service and then a separate service, correct?
that is correct. Yes. So
And so,
the
yeah, what
93
was that?
day was the accepting of the estimate that I'd provided for the first service. Went ahead, delivered that. I didn't even deliver it fully. I delivered part of it, and they turned around and said, "This is great. Let's get some more going on. I want this, this, and this." So sent them another estimate for the same amount, and then they came back and they were like, "Yeah, wonderful, beautiful." And so I'm still engaged with that client, and there's probably going to be a longer term relationship there.
Definitely.
Finishing off the work against that second piece of work, but ultimately the first has been delivered, paid for, they're happy. The second's in motion at the minute, and there's more likely to be more work out of it because they need what I'm selling essentially.
And so the total amount for both those services was how much that you got paid for?
So they were 3,000 British pounds each. So 6,000 British pounds total, which comes out to about 7,800 US dollars.
So your first client, $7,800 US, 6,000 pounds within 93 days of you starting the program. Um,
Basically, yeah.
yeah, and you're a good example of what I talk about because our guarantee the program is $1,000, but no one just makes $1,000. And a lot of people are like you, their first client is way past 1,000. I mean, your client's almost 8x
Yeah.
$1,000 with one client. And you're right, you're going to get more money from this client. This is not, you're absolutely right, based on what you talk. Oh, we didn't talk about your niche. So what was the niche that you chose?
So the niching's interesting because you kind of niche down and then you get to the point where you can kind of pivot ever so slightly. So I niched into uh, so there's two ones that I was chasing. I'm a little bit between them, but based on they're similar and the service is the exact same, but it's depending on how it wants to go, just based on some further market research. But one of them is financial technology firms that require immediate cybersecurity penetration testing.
Hmm.
And then the other one is we call them digital agencies. They basically are your website development firms that churn out tons of these websites all the time, and they need that instant web uh, cloud cybersecurity penetration testing service as well. And the key thing with both of those is that both of them they need to make sure they deliver secure applications, and they usually have quite tight or frequent deadlines. So they're not just looking for penetration testing; they're
Oh,
looking for now. I need it
interesting.
done now. And we've got from previous experience the code to actually deliver that the same day. So done, dusted, or sorted. And that's where we have pushed to. This first client actually saw a lot of the marketing that I did out of the guidance from the 90-day business builder. And they approached me directly with a problem they had, which fit slightly to the side of the niche, which was actually some database management and migration work going into a new cloud environment. And they were worried about theirs, they were having problems with it. But because of the marketing that we've been putting out as part of the 90-day business builder, this client came in, started a casual conversation, went back to them, had that conversation with them a bit further to help give them some ideas and guide them through. Um, one of the things that came out of the business builder was just how you go about dealing with clients, not just on a marketing piece. You give them value, you demonstrate the value. So once the value was demonstrated, they just turned around and said, brilliant, we're in the right place. It's not what they're advertising, but they know how to do it. Can we get an estimate? And it went from there.
And you said something very interesting. You said, correct me if I'm wrong, you never had to like cold call these people to get a client. You did marketing through Business Builder and they approached you.
Yes, that is correct.
That's
So
awesome.
the marketing is because I'm still running my consultancies because I've got a few things as well. I hadn't
Mhm.
mentioned this to you, but there's been a few things going on over the past few months. Like I've had my second child, and I've had to deal with again a visa as well, and a few other exotic
Oh,
things.
wow. Okay.
Alongside all of that, running the
Yeah.
business, a newborn, and a visa, marketing is a lot easier to do at 2 a.m. in the morning. So you can do that. You can line
Yeah.
up your posts. And the cold calling during the day, there's been a bit of it and some engagement, but it hasn't been as heavy going. But I do know that if I were to have that time freed up, if I was a young man again, I'd coming out of university or I just had a single job, a single client, didn't have the family, freeing up an hour or even 2 hours during usual contact times
Mhm.
would be really pushing this through because the niching of it gives you that list and you can just go for it. So really that's just a restriction personally with me, but the marketing still works anyway, even though I'm not able to get fully into all parts of the options in 90-day business builder. The marketing worked wonderfully.
Yeah. And so the way I look at that is, and other guys have talked about this when they were in Business Builder, is you had, and maybe are still having, all these life complications, the new baby and
Yeah.
the visa stuff and everything else. And you still were able to get a really profitable client on top of that. And yes, oh, I could have gotten more clients, but you got that client within 93 days despite that.
Yeah.
Nice. What would you say to someone who was on the fence about joining Business Builder? Like,
So
the way I categorize, there's
then,
people who will definitely never do it. There's people who absolutely will do it as soon as they can
mm,
afford it or when the timing is right. Someone who's on the fence, what would you say to that person?
so prior to like becoming an old man and wanting to get away from the easy consulting side and just wanting to go, I've had enough of this. I want to go live somewhere else. I want to just have the easy life. When you're a young man, you kind of want that. When you're an old man like me, you feel like you need it, right? It's time to just do that because you're getting shoved into it. If I could go back to someone like me at that sort of age, and go, right, I've just got a job and there's this thing here that seems really good and it seems great, really. The bottom line I would say to you is like, look, if you stay in your job and you just stay on your career path, you are going to need to spend probably about 2K, 3K, 4K here or there just to keep up to date with your qualifications, which is what I had to do.
Right.
I'm a qualified project manager, I'm a
Yes.
qualified architect. All of those qualifications have added up to be more than business builder, and I've got less out of them. I don't even use the project management ones anymore. They're
Mhm.
just, I have them and no one cares, and I don't use them. And I actually think I'm better without them because they taught me a lot of stuff I now don't agree with.
So this
So
is
if we're
thousands
talking
of
about,
pounds a year. This is thousands of pounds slash dollars a year for these certifications, correct? Yeah.
yeah, they were really just underline that. I've actually let them drop off. So it cost me about £100, $150 a year just to renew them, and I don't even bother with them anymore. But the
Mhm.
sunk cost in them was more than Business Builder, and I've got less out of them.
Yeah.
Whereas, at least with Business Builder, that's going to stick with me for the rest of my life because it's not just this business,
Right.
it's all the other ones I want to do as well because the
Mhm.
fundamentals are there. So I would say if you take that cost of business builder and you just look at how many years you've got left that you want to do stuff, and we're not even talking about necessarily, the ideal consulting business, which business builder is perfectly built for, but say other little businesses as well. Maybe you've got a real enjoyment of precious metals or stuff like that. This is one of the ones I'm interested in. That didn't quite make it on the actual validation of which one's the best one, but precious metals I like to do. I've got a custom made business model there, which I've tried and tested. And when I get a bit older and I just want to play around with shiny objects, right? I can apply a small business there that is essentially like a hobby that isn't going to cost me the world. Because I think one of the things that really comes out with Business Builder is just how much power you've got with that business model you get. It's not like other business models where they will drag you down because you've got so many outgoings, you've got so many employees and things like that. You've got something that's almost hobbyist that you can utilize. So if you're on the fence and you're thinking about that, I would say, one, I paid a lot for my stuff. It wasn't worth it. Business Builder is the best one I've had, best return on investments I've ever had in a course ever. I'm really happy with this. Paid for itself already within 93 days. That's great. But also, this is such a good way to get some good solid experience of things that can actually contribute to you having healthy, rewarding hobbies and side businesses and other stuff in the future, because you can just reuse this over and over again for the rest of your life. So I would say, even if you can't afford it or anything like that, just put some money aside, work towards it, and it will pay itself back faster than most other things will pay you back. So go for it.
It's, you know, it's interesting. We just had a business builder meeting this morning and I was a part of it. And we were talking about exactly that, where you're not going to just have one business the rest of your life. You're going to do others.
No.
And all you have to do is learn this one skill one time and you get the ROI for the rest of your life. You know,
Yeah.
most people are going to be living another 40, 50, 60 years. That's ROI
Yeah.
for the rest of your life. It's a one-time skill set and then you're covered. Yes, it's really interesting you brought that up. We were talking about that just this morning. You're absolutely right. I always forget about that aspect of it.
I mean,
Great.
like, to me, just to really underline the exact things, like, it was the marketing training, the sales training, the niching training, and then the kind of business structure that you provide as well.
Mhm.
All of those I didn't have that experience with. I just kind of naturally sort of muddled through a lot of business previously. But that stuff is universal, and that's the stuff I'm taking away, and I'm keeping. Sorry.
Yeah, it's yours forever. That's exactly how it works. Andrew, this is great. Fantastic. Love it. Thank you very much for this. This has been great.
It's been a pleasure. Cheers, Caleb.
Thanks.